Chapter 1. The Birth of a Revolutionary. Ernesto Guevara, known to the world as Che, was born on June 14, 1928, in a small town called Rosario in Argentina. His family, though not poor, was not rich either. They had just enough to live comfortably. From a very young age, Che was different. He was not like the other children in his town. He was adventurous and curious, always eager to learn about the world around him. His parents were both passionate readers. They filled their house with books, and it wasn't long before Che discovered the joy of reading. He spent hours exploring the world through the pages of books. His curiosity and thirst for knowledge grew with each book he read. But life wasn't always easy for young Che. He had asthma, a condition that made it hard for him to breathe. Many times, he found himself unable to join his friends in their games because his asthma would act up. It was a struggle, a constant battle that he had to fight. Still, he didn't let this struggle defeat him. Instead, he turned to his books. They became his escape, his companions during the times when his asthma kept him indoors. He read about far-off lands, about brave heroes, about grand revolutions. These stories inspired him, fueled his spirit, and planted the seeds of a dream in his heart, a dream of changing the world. Little did anyone know that this curious boy with a love for books and a fierce spirit would grow up to be one of the most influential figures of the 20th century. His journey was only just beginning. As Che grew older, his interest in reading shifted towards medicine. He wanted to understand the human body, especially because he himself had to battle his asthma every day. This quest for knowledge led him to the University of Buenos Aires, where he enrolled to study medicine. University life opened a new world for Che. The quiet, bookish boy from Rosario found himself surrounded by students from all walks of life. They were discussing ideas, sharing opinions, and exploring new ways of thinking. It was exciting, invigorating. Che quickly embraced this new environment, eager to learn as much as he could. But it wasn't just the study of medicine that consumed Che's attention. He began to take an interest in politics as well. He saw that there was suffering in the world, and he wanted to understand why. He started attending political meetings and discussions. He listened to speeches, read newspapers, and questioned his professors. His political consciousness was awakening. He started to see the world not just through the lens of a doctor, but also as a potential change-maker. He felt a growing dissatisfaction with the injustices he saw in society. It was clear to him that change was needed, but he didn't know yet how he could be part of it. Nevertheless, he kept studying. He graduated as a doctor, a profession that was about healing and helping. Yet inside him, the flame of rebellion was beginning to flicker. He was starting to see that maybe, just maybe, he could do more than just heal bodies. Maybe he could also help heal society. Little did he know that soon enough, an opportunity would present itself that would give him the chance to do just that. But that's a story for another time. For now, Che was still just a young doctor with a burning desire to change the world. His journey was still only just beginning. As a young doctor, Che was ready to begin his professional life. But something inside him yearned for more. He wanted to understand the world beyond the confines of his medical books and classrooms. And so, in 1952, Che, along with his friend Alberto Granado, decided to embark on a journey that would change his life. The two friends set out on an old, sputtering motorbike. Their destination, South America. They had a map, a sense of adventure, and a deep desire to explore. They rode through vast landscapes, meeting people from all walks of life. They saw breathtaking beauty, but they also saw devastating poverty. Che was deeply moved by the conditions in which many people lived. He saw children without shoes, families without homes, communities without basic health care. The inequality was stark and shocking. The injustice of it all ignited a fire within him. His medical training had taught him to heal, but how could he heal a society so deeply scared by poverty and injustice? Every city they visited, every person they met, left an indelible mark on Che's mind and heart. He saw the resilience and strength of the people, their struggles and their hopes. The journey was an education in itself, revealing a world that was far removed from his sheltered life in Buenos Aires. His journey across South America, later documented in his famous Motorcycle Diaries, was more than just an adventurous road trip. It was a journey of awakening. The young doctor, who left Argentina with a desire to explore, returned with a revolutionary spirit. He saw the power of change, and he knew he wanted to be a part of it. The stage was set. Che Guevara, the curious boy from Rosario, the medical student from Buenos Aires, had transformed into a man with a revolutionary heart. His journey had just begun. The road ahead was filled with challenges, but Che was ready. His motorcycle trip was over, but his true journey was just about to start.
Chapter 2. A Change in Direction. After returning from his transformative journey across South America, Che was restless. He knew he wanted to do more, but wasn't sure how. Fate, however, had plans for him. In 1955, in the bustling city of Mexico City, Che was introduced to a man who would change the course of his life: Fidel Castro. Fidel was a charismatic leader, full of energy and passion. He spoke about revolution, about freedom, about a new Cuba free from the grips of the dictator, Fulgencio Batista. Che was captivated. Here was a man who was not just talking about change, but was ready to fight for it. Their first meeting was intense. They talked late into the night, their conversation filled with ideas and dreams of a better future. Fidel spoke of his plan to overthrow Batista's regime. He spoke of a Cuba where every citizen had rights, where justice prevailed. Che listened, his heart pounding with excitement. He recognized the fire in Fidel's words. It matched the fire that was burning within him. He saw a vision of the world he had dreamed about during his travels. He knew then that his path was aligning with Fidel's. That fateful meeting marked the beginning of an alliance that would change the course of history. Che, the doctor-turned-traveler, was about to transform once again. He was on the cusp of becoming a revolutionary. But the path to revolution was not an easy one. It was a path filled with danger and challenges. Che knew this. But he also knew that the fight for justice was worth any risk. The meeting with Fidel was the catalyst he had been waiting for. It had set him on a course that would lead him into the heart of the Cuban Revolution. The meeting with Fidel Castro had left Che Guevara at a crossroads. On one hand, there was the secure path of medicine, a path he had trained for and was expected to follow. On the other hand, there was the turbulent and uncertain path of revolution. Che found himself torn between these two worlds. But the more he thought about it, the clearer his decision became. His travels across South America, the poverty and injustice he had witnessed, the passionate words of Fidel, all pointed him towards one direction: revolution. He knew that the decision would not be easy. He was giving up a stable career, a comfortable life. But Che had always been a person who followed his heart. And his heart was telling him that his place was not in the safety of a hospital, but in the heart of a revolution. So, with a heavy heart but a determined spirit, Che made the decision. He bid farewell to his medical career and pledged his loyalty to Fidel and his revolutionary movement, the 26th of July movement. It was a brave, almost reckless decision. But for Che, it was the only decision that felt right. His family and friends were shocked. They tried to convince him otherwise, warning him of the dangers ahead. But Che was resolute. He told them that he could not stand by while people suffered. He told them that he had to try, had to fight for a better world. And so, Che, the doctor, became Che, the revolutionary. His white doctor's coat was replaced by a green military uniform, his stethoscope by a rifle. It was a dramatic transformation, a leap into the unknown. But Che Guevara was ready. He had made his decision, and there was no turning back. His revolutionary journey had begun. Having made the decision to join Fidel Castro's revolutionary movement, Che Guevara had to prepare himself for the challenges ahead. This meant undergoing intensive guerrilla training. It was a rigorous process designed to turn ordinary men into skilled fighters. Che, with his undying spirit and determination, threw himself into the training with all his might. The training was tough. It involved long hours of physical exercise, from running and climbing to swimming and marching. Despite his asthma, Che pushed himself, refusing to let his condition hinder him. He rose before dawn, pushing his body to its limits, always striving to keep up with his comrades. But physical fitness was just one part of the training. Che also had to learn the tactics and strategies of guerrilla warfare. He learned how to navigate through dense jungles, how to survive with limited resources, and how to attack and retreat swiftly. He studied maps, learned about the terrain, and practiced mock battles. He also learned how to handle weapons. From handling a rifle to throwing a grenade, Che familiarized himself with the tools of warfare. It was a far cry from the medical instruments he was used to, but he understood the necessity. The training was exhausting, both physically and mentally. But with each passing day, Che could feel himself growing stronger, more prepared. He was transforming, not just in body, but also in spirit. The doctor who had once healed patients was now a fighter, ready to heal a nation. Through the grueling training, Che's resolve only grew stronger. He was no longer just a member of the movement. He was a guerrilla fighter, ready to risk everything for the cause he believed in. His journey into the heart of the revolution had truly begun.
Chapter 3. The battle begins. The day had finally arrived. Che, along with Fidel Castro and 80 other determined revolutionaries, set sail from Mexico towards Cuba on a rickety yacht called Guevara. Their goal was clear: to overthrow the oppressive regime of Fulgencio Batista. But their journey was anything but smooth. The Guevara, designed to hold only 20 people, was severely overcrowded. There was little room to move and hardly any comfort. The seas were rough, the winds were unforgiving, and seasickness was rampant. Yet, amidst these harsh conditions, the spirit of the revolutionaries remained unbroken. After 7 grueling days at sea, they finally arrived on the shores of Cuba. But the hardship was far from over. They had hoped for a stealthy landing, but their arrival hadn't gone unnoticed. Batista's troops were waiting for them. Outnumbered and outgunned, the revolutionaries found themselves in a fierce firefight just as they disembarked. Chaos ensued. In the heat of battle, many were captured, while others, including Che and Fidel, managed to escape into the dense jungle. Surviving the initial encounter was only the beginning of their struggles. They were in unfamiliar territory, surrounded by unknown dangers. With limited resources and Batista's soldiers on their tail, the odds were stacked against them. But Che, along with Fidel and the remaining revolutionaries, remained undeterred. They had faced their first battle and had survived. They knew the path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but they were not about to give up. They were in Cuba now, and the fight for freedom had just begun. Their determination was as strong as ever. The battle had begun, and there was no turning back. After escaping from Batista's troops and retreating into the Sierra Maestra Mountains, Che and the remaining revolutionaries began to regroup. They were few in number, with limited ammunition and supplies. It was a precarious situation, but they were not ready to back down. The first few days in the jungle were a blur of activity. They set up a makeshift camp, gathered what little resources they could find, and planned their next steps. Che, who had been a doctor just a few months ago, now found himself preparing for combat. His first experience of battle came sooner than expected. Batista's troops, having tracked them down, launched a surprise attack. The calm of the jungle was shattered by the deafening sound of gunfire. It was a moment of truth for Che, his first real test as a revolutionary fighter. The battle was intense. Bullets whizzed through the air, trees exploded into splinters, and shouts echoed through the jungle. Amidst the chaos, Che remained focused. He remembered his training, steadied his rifle, and returned fire. Though the revolutionaries were outnumbered, they fought with courage and determination. Their resolve was stronger than any weapon. Che, amidst the heat of battle, found a calmness within himself. He was no longer just a doctor or a revolutionary. He was a fighter, risking his life for the freedom of his people. After hours of relentless combat, Batista's troops finally retreated. Che and his comrades had survived their first battle. It was a small victory, but it was a symbol of their resilience. They had faced danger, felt the thrill of combat, and emerged stronger. The first combat was a turning point for Che. He had tasted the reality of war, felt the weight of the responsibility he had taken on, but he had also felt a sense of purpose, a conviction that they were on the right path. It was a harsh, brutal introduction to the reality of their mission, but it only strengthened Che's resolve. The revolution was no longer just a dream. It was a battle they were determined to win. As the days turned into weeks, then into months, Che's role within the revolutionary group grew. He was no longer just a fighter. He was a leader, a strategist, a symbol of resistance. The doctor from Argentina had transformed into a respected and feared guerrilla fighter. His comrades began to look up to him. His calmness during combat, his strategic mind, and his unwavering commitment to their cause inspired them. His leadership was not born out of authority, but out of respect. Even in the most challenging situations, he showed courage and determination, leading by example. But Che was not just a military leader. He was also the group's doctor, using his medical skills to treat the wounded and sick. His dual role as a fighter and a healer earned him the nickname Che, a term of endearment in Argentina. His reputation started to spread beyond the confines of their camp. Stories of the asthmatic doctor who became a formidable guerrilla leader started to circulate among the people. They spoke of his bravery, his strategic genius, his compassion for the poor. His image as a hero of the people started to take shape. Che Guevara was becoming more than just a revolutionary fighter. He was becoming a symbol of the revolution itself. His transformation was complete. He was no longer Ernesto Guevara, the medical student from Buenos Aires, or the adventurous traveler who roamed South America. He was Che, the guerrilla leader, the embodiment of their fight for freedom. This transformation was not just about a change in role or title. It was about embracing a cause with all his heart and soul. It was about standing up against injustice, no matter the cost. Che had become a true revolutionary, and his journey was far from over. Chapter 4. The Revolution Gains Momentum. Under Che's strategic leadership, the revolutionary movement started to gain momentum. Che knew that to succeed, they needed more than just a small group of determined fighters. They needed the support of the people. So he focused on spreading the revolutionary fire among the Cuban population. From the remote corners of the Sierra Maestra Mountains, Che sent out messages, using local radio stations and word of mouth. He spoke about their cause, about the injustice and oppression they were fighting against. He told the people that they deserved better, that they deserved freedom and dignity. His words resonated with the people. They were tired of Batista's oppressive regime. They were yearning for change. Che's messages gave them hope. They started to see the revolutionaries not as rebels, but as fighters for their rights. Support for the revolution started to grow. People from different walks of life started to join their cause. Farmers, workers, students, even some soldiers who were disillusioned with Batista's regime, pledged their support to the revolution. The small band of fighters grew into a formidable force. But it wasn't just about numbers. Che also focused on training the new recruits. He shared his guerrilla tactics with them, taught them how to fight and survive. He wanted to ensure that each fighter was prepared for the challenges ahead. Under Che's leadership, the revolutionary fire started to spread across Cuba. The revolution was no longer confined to the jungles of Sierra Maestra. It was spreading across towns and villages, reaching the hearts and minds of the Cuban people. The revolution was gaining momentum, and Che was at the forefront, leading the charge. As the revolution grew stronger, so did the resistance from Batista's regime. The tension reached a boiling point at the Battle of Santa Clara in late 1958. This battle was a pivotal moment in the Cuban Revolution, and Che was at the center of it all. Santa Clara was a strategic city, and its capture was crucial for both sides. Che, leading a column of 300 revolutionaries, was tasked with taking over the city. Opposing them were Batista's well-armed forces, who were prepared to fight tooth and nail to keep control. The battle was fierce. Gunfire echoed through the city streets. The air was thick with tension, and danger lurked around every corner. But Che and his fighters were resolute. They fought with tenacity, utilizing the guerrilla tactics that Che had taught them. Despite being outnumbered, the revolutionaries pressed on. They engaged the enemy in intense street-to-street combat, their determination stronger than any weapon. Che was in the midst of it all, leading, inspiring, and fighting alongside his comrades. After days of relentless fighting, a miraculous event occurred. Batista's troops, disheartened and demoralized, began to surrender. The city of Santa Clara, against all odds, fell into the hands of the revolutionaries. The Battle of Santa Clara was a turning point in the Cuban Revolution. It was proof that Batista's regime could be defeated. News of the victory spread across Cuba, and soon after, Batista fled the country. The revolutionaries had won. Che, the leader of this pivotal battle, had become a national hero. The asthmatic doctor from Argentina had led a successful revolution in a foreign land. His name became synonymous with courage and resilience. The revolution had gained momentum, and it was unstoppable. Che's strategic leadership had changed the course of history. The revolution was victorious, but the journey was far from over. With the fall of Santa Clara, the dominoes of Batista's regime began to topple. Word of the revolutionary victory spread like wildfire, igniting hope across the nation. And then, the moment everyone had been waiting for arrived. Fulgencio Batista, the oppressive dictator, fled Cuba. The revolutionaries had won. The victory was a momentous event, not just for the revolutionaries, but for all of Cuba. People poured into the streets, their faces radiant with joy and relief. They sang, they danced, they cried. They had endured years of oppression, and now they were free. Che, who had played a crucial role in the revolution, found himself in the midst of these celebrations. The joy of the people was contagious, their gratitude overwhelming. But amidst the celebration, Che did not lose sight of what this victory truly meant. This was not just a victory against a dictator. It was a victory of the people, for the people. It was a victory of their resilience, their spirit, and their desire for freedom. It was a testament to what could be achieved when people united against injustice. But she also knew that the victory was just the beginning. There was much to be done to heal the wounds of the past and build a new Cuba. The revolutionaries had won the battle, but the fight for a fair and just Cuba was far from over. Nevertheless, the victory was a beacon of hope. It was proof that change was possible, that a small group of determined people could stand up against oppression and win. Che Guevara, the doctor, the traveler, the revolutionary, had become a symbol of this victory. He was a testament to the power of resilience and the spirit of revolution. The revolution had gained momentum, and with Che's leadership, it was ready to face the challenges of the future. Chapter 5. Building a New Cuba. With Batista's regime overthrown, Cuba stood on the threshold of a new era. A new government was established with Fidel Castro as the prime minister. Che Guevara, the passionate revolutionary who had played a crucial role in the victory, was given an important position in this new government. Che was appointed as the director of the Industrial Department of the National Institute of Agrarian Reform. He was also later made the president of the National Bank of Cuba. These roles put him in a unique position to implement his revolutionary policies. As a director in the agrarian reform, Che played a key role in changing Cuba's agricultural landscape. He believed that land should not be in the hands of a few wealthy landowners, but should be distributed among the farmers who worked on it. His reforms aimed at breaking up large landholdings and redistributing them among the peasants. It was a radical policy that sought to address the vast inequality in the Cuban countryside. His role in the National Bank of Cuba was no less revolutionary. He worked to nationalize the banking industry, bringing it under the control of the state. It was a move aimed at freeing the Cuban economy from foreign control and influence. In both roles, Che implemented policies that echoed his revolutionary ideals. His decisions were often bold and controversial, but they were always guided by his belief in justice and equality. Building a new Cuba was no easy task. It required radical changes and faced resistance from many quarters. But Che, with his unwavering conviction, played a crucial role in shaping the direction of the new regime. He was no longer just a guerrilla leader. He was a key figure in the Cuban government, working tirelessly to build a nation that reflected the ideals of the revolution. Equality was a principle that Che Guevara held dearly, and it was at the heart of his vision for the new Cuba. He believed that for Cuba to truly be free, it had to be a nation where every citizen had equal rights and opportunities. His policies, therefore, were always aimed at creating a fair and equal society. One of Che's most significant efforts in this regard was his campaign for literacy. He believed that education was a fundamental right and a crucial tool for empowering people. Therefore, under his leadership, the government launched a nationwide literacy campaign. Thousands of literacy brigades were sent across the country, teaching people of all ages to read and write. In just 1 year, the literacy rate in Cuba dramatically improved. But Che's pursuit of equality was not just about education. He also sought to address economic and social inequality. He worked tirelessly to implement policies that promoted social welfare. Health care and housing were made accessible to all, regardless of their economic status. Employment opportunities were expanded, and workers' rights were strengthened. In every decision, Che prioritized the needs of the poor and the marginalized. He was determined to break the cycle of poverty and inequality that had long plagued Cuban society. His policies, often radical and controversial, reflected his unwavering commitment to this cause. Che's pursuit of equality was not without challenges. He faced resistance, criticism, and numerous obstacles, but he remained undeterred. For him, creating a fair and equal society was not just a political goal, but a moral obligation, and he devoted himself fully to this pursuit, working tirelessly to transform the ideals of the revolution into a reality. As the new Cuba was taking shape under the leadership of Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, the world was watching closely. The revolution had not only changed Cuba, but it had also sent ripples across the globe. The response was mixed, with some countries applauding the revolution, while others were critical. The United States, in particular, viewed the revolution with concern. They saw the radical policies of the new Cuban government, especially the nationalization of industries, as a threat to their interests. Tensions between the two nations escalated, culminating in the infamous Bay of Pigs invasion and the Cuban Missile Crisis. In the midst of these tensions, Che played a crucial role in Cuba's international relations. He represented Cuba on various international platforms, advocating for the rights of the oppressed and championing the cause of global revolution. One of his most notable diplomatic encounters was his speech at the United Nations in 1964. He boldly criticized United States foreign policy and expressed his support for liberation movements around the world. His impassioned speech won him both admiration and criticism, but it also firmly established Cuba's position on the global stage. Che also forged alliances with other socialist countries. He visited China, the Soviet Union, and several other nations, building relationships and seeking support for Cuba. Che's role in international relations was instrumental in shaping the world's perception of the new Cuba. His diplomatic encounters revealed his vision of a world free from imperialism and exploitation. Despite the challenges and criticism, he remained steadfast in his beliefs and continued to champion the ideals of the Cuban Revolution on the global stage. His contribution to Cuba's revolution was not just confined to the island, but it echoed across the world. Chapter 6. Guevara the Economist. Che Guevara's role in the new Cuban government was not limited to politics and diplomacy. He was also a key player in shaping Cuba's economic policies. As the head of the National Bank and the Minister of Industries, Che had the challenging task of restructuring the Cuban economy. Cuba's economy had long been dominated by foreign interests, particularly those of the United States. Che aimed to change that. He sought to make the Cuban economy independent, self-sufficient, and centered on the needs of its people. One of his first steps was to nationalize industries. Sugar mills, oil refineries, and other major industries were brought under state control. The idea was to keep the wealth generated by these industries within Cuba, benefiting the Cuban people instead of foreign corporations. He also introduced agrarian reforms to address the issue of land inequality. Large landholdings were broken up and distributed among rural farmers. The goal was to increase agricultural productivity and ensure a fair distribution of land. Che's economic reforms were radical and ambitious. They marked a dramatic shift from Cuba's capitalist past towards socialism. It was a process fraught with challenges, from managing the backlash from foreign corporations to dealing with economic sanctions imposed by the United States. Despite these obstacles, Che remained committed to his economic vision for Cuba. He believed that an independent and equitable economy was essential for a truly free Cuba. His work as an economist was another testament to his unwavering commitment to the ideals of the revolution. He was not just a guerrilla leader or a diplomat. He was also a visionary economist, working to build a new economic future for Cuba. Che's economic reforms faced significant challenges. The nationalization of industries and the shift towards socialism were met with resistance, both domestically and internationally. The most substantial of these challenges came in the form of an economic blockade by the United States. The United States, displeased with the radical changes in Cuba and the loss of their economic interests, imposed a strict embargo on the island nation. The blockade cut off Cuba's access to its largest market and severed its economic ties with much of the Western world. It was a massive blow to the Cuban economy, which relied heavily on exports, particularly sugar, to the United States. The embargo created a scarcity of essential goods, from food to machinery. The Cuban economy, already facing the challenges of transition, was plunged into a crisis. Despite these enormous challenges, Che remained undeterred. He viewed the blockade not just as an economic obstacle, but as a political challenge. He believed that Cuba's economic independence was tied to its political freedom, and so he worked tirelessly to mitigate the effects of the blockade. He sought help from the Soviet Union and other socialist countries, securing trade agreements to keep the Cuban economy afloat. He also doubled down on domestic production, encouraging industrialization and agricultural productivity to reduce dependence on imports. Che's battle against the odds was a testament to his resilience and determination. The economic challenges were steep, but he refused to back down. He remained committed to his vision of an independent, equitable Cuba, working tirelessly against all odds to turn this vision into a reality. The path was difficult, but Che Guevara, the economist, was ready for the challenge. The path to revolution is never easy. It requires not just passion and commitment, but also immense sacrifice. As Che worked tirelessly to reshape the Cuban economy, the cost of the revolution became increasingly apparent. The economic blockade by the United States had plunged Cuba into a crisis. Shortages of food and essential goods became common. The people, though supportive of the revolution, were feeling the pinch. Living standards fell, and hardships increased. At the same time, the radical economic reforms, though aimed at long-term prosperity and equality, also brought short-term challenges. Nationalization led to the loss of jobs in some sectors. The shift from private to state control disrupted businesses and created economic uncertainty. Che was deeply aware of these hardships. He knew that the people were making immense sacrifices for the revolution, but he also believed that these sacrifices were necessary for the greater good. He saw the struggle not just as an economic challenge, but as a part of the revolutionary process. In speeches and public addresses, Che acknowledged these difficulties. He asked the people to persevere, to stay committed to the revolutionary cause. He reminded them that the path to freedom and equality was not easy, but the end goal was worth the struggle. The cost of the revolution was high. It required sacrifice, endurance, and resilience. But Che, with his unwavering commitment to his revolutionary ideals, was willing to pay that cost. He knew that the road to a new Cuba was long and difficult, but he was ready to face the challenges, for he believed in the promise of a better future. Chapter 7. Ideology and Influence. Che's revolutionary spirit was not confined to the borders of Cuba. He believed in a global revolution, a worldwide fight against imperialism and injustice. His vision extended beyond the transformation of Cuba, aiming to ignite the flame of revolution in other parts of the world. Throughout the 1960s, Che made several trips to Africa and other parts of Latin America, meeting with revolutionary groups and expressing solidarity with their causes. He believed that the fight against imperialism was a shared struggle, one that transcended national borders. His efforts to spread the revolutionary flame, however, ignited tensions on the international stage. The United States and its allies viewed Che's activities with increasing concern. His open support for liberation movements was seen as a threat to their interests and influence. Despite these tensions, Che remained unapologetic about his revolutionary ideals. He saw his role not just as a leader in the Cuban Revolution, but as a participant in a global struggle for freedom and justice. In his speeches, writings, and diplomatic encounters, Che continued to advocate for revolutionary change. He encouraged the oppressed to rise up, to fight for their rights, to challenge the status quo. His words inspired many, sparking revolutionary movements in several countries. Che's efforts to spread the revolutionary flame were a testament to his unwavering commitment to his ideals. They were also a reflection of his belief in the power of the people, in their ability to rise up against injustice. His influence extended far beyond Cuba, igniting tensions, but also inspiring hope and change. The revolutionary flame was spreading, and Che was at the heart of it. In 1965, Che embarked on one of his most ambitious missions, to ignite a revolution in Congo. Inspired by his belief in global revolution, Che saw Congo, a country marred by political instability and foreign intervention, as a right ground for revolutionary change. With a small band of Cuban volunteers, Che arrived in Congo, ready to support the local rebels. They were prepared for a tough fight, but what they encountered was beyond their expectations. The mission faced numerous obstacles right from the start. The local rebel groups were poorly organized and lacked discipline. The support from the local population, which Che had expected, was not forthcoming. Language and cultural barriers further compounded the challenges. Despite these setbacks, Che and his volunteers fought alongside the Congolese rebels. They faced well-equipped government forces and foreign mercenaries, often finding themselves in dangerous situations. But the mission, fraught with difficulties, was unable to gain momentum. After several months of struggle, it became apparent that the mission was failing. The revolution Che had hoped to ignite was nowhere in sight. Disappointed and disillusioned, Che eventually made the tough decision to abandon the mission. The Congo mission was a painful setback for Che, but it also offered valuable lessons. It showed the complexities of inciting a revolution and the importance of local context and support. Despite the failure, Che's conviction in his revolutionary ideals remained unshaken. The Congo mission was a gripping chapter in his life, a testament to his commitment to the cause of global revolution, even in the face of defeat. Throughout his life, Che Guevara had worn many hats: a doctor, a traveler, a guerrilla leader, a diplomat, an economist. But as his journey unfolded, he transformed into something more: a global icon, a symbol of rebellion and revolutionary change. Che's image, captured in the iconic photograph by Alberto Corda, became a universal symbol. It was an image that resonated with people across the world, regardless of their nationality or political beliefs. His determined gaze and beret, adorned with a star, became a symbol of resistance against oppression, a beacon of hope for those yearning for change. His writings and speeches were translated into multiple languages, spreading his revolutionary ideals beyond the borders of Cuba. His life story, marked by unwavering commitment to his beliefs and fearless confrontation of challenges, inspired countless people around the globe. But this global icon was not just a symbol of revolution, he was also a symbol of sacrifice. His life was a testament to the price of revolution, the sacrifices required in the pursuit of justice and freedom. He had given up comfort, security, and even his life for his beliefs. The transformation of Che Guevara from a political leader to a global icon was not a deliberate act. It was the result of his unwavering commitment to his ideals, his fearless confrontation of challenges, and his refusal to compromise on his beliefs. He had become more than just a man. He was an idea, a symbol, a beacon of rebellion and change. His influence was not just political, it was cultural, inspiring a generation to question, to rebel, and to strive for a better world. Chapter 8. The Bolivian Adventure. After the failed mission in Congo, Che was far from discouraged. He remained committed to his revolutionary ideals, ready to ignite change wherever he saw oppression. His next daring venture took him to a new battleground, Bolivia. Bolivia, like many other Latin American countries, was marred by social and economic inequality. The ruling elites had amassed wealth at the expense of the poor majority. To Che, Bolivia seemed ripe for a revolution. With this new mission in mind, she secretly left Cuba in late 1966. Accompanied by a small group of Cuban volunteers, he arrived in Bolivia under the disguise of a Uruguayan businessman. They set up a base in the remote and rugged region of southeastern Bolivia, ready to kickstart the revolution. Che's plan was to train a guerrilla force that would launch a people's rebellion against the oppressive Bolivian government. He believed that a successful revolution in Bolivia could spark similar uprisings across Latin America. His vision was grand, a continent-wide revolution. But the mission in Bolivia was fraught with challenges from the outset. The terrain was harsh, the local support was lacking, and the Bolivian government, backed by the United States, was prepared to quash any hint of revolution. Undeterred by these challenges, Che embarked on his Bolivian adventure. He was ready to face the trials and tribulations that lay ahead, driven by his unwavering belief in the power of revolution. This was a new mission, a new battleground, but the revolutionary flame that burned within Che Guevara remained as bright as ever. As the group ventured deeper into the unforgiving Bolivian jungles, the challenges of their mission became apparent. The dense forest, the unpredictable weather, the scarce resources. Every day was a battle for survival. But this was more than just a physical challenge. It was a test of their resolve. Under Che's leadership, the small guerrilla group started to prepare. They set up a training camp, honing their skills in combat, survival, and navigation. They adapted to the harsh jungle environment, learning to use its resources and navigate its challenges. However, the physical difficulties were only a part of their struggle. The support from the local population, crucial for a successful guerrilla warfare, was not forthcoming. Despite their efforts, the group struggled to build ties with the local peasants, many of whom were wary of getting involved in a rebellion. Despite these setbacks, Che refused to give up. He led his group into daring encounters with the Bolivian military, using the guerrilla tactics he had perfected in Cuba. The small band of revolutionaries, though outnumbered, held their ground, refusing to be defeated. The Bolivian jungle was a harsh battleground, but it was also a stage for Che's resilience. His spirit remained unbroken, his resolve unwavering. He faced the harsh realities of guerrilla warfare with the same grit and determination that had marked his entire revolutionary journey. The mission was challenging, but Che was not one to back down. He was ready to fight, ready to turn the harsh Bolivian jungle into a bastion of revolution. As months passed, the situation for Che and his group in the Bolivian jungle became increasingly desperate. They were constantly on the run, their numbers dwindling due to battles, disease, and desertion. The support from the local population remained elusive, and the revolution they had hoped to ignite seemed increasingly out of reach. In the midst of these dire circumstances, a chilling episode of betrayal unfolded. An informant within the local population tipped off the Bolivian military about Che's whereabouts. Armed with this information, the military, backed by CIA advisors, launched a massive operation to capture the revolutionary leader. On October 8, 1967, Che's group was ambushed in the village of La Higuera. Outnumbered and outgunned, they put up a fierce resistance, but the outcome was inevitable. Che, weakened by illness and injuries, was captured. His capture marked a dramatic turn in Che's Bolivian adventure. The man who had been a beacon of revolution, who had led from the front in the face of insurmountable challenges, was now a captive. It was a chilling moment, filled with suspense and uncertainty. The man who had spent his life fighting against oppression, who had inspired countless people with his revolutionary spirit, was now in the hands of his enemies. His future was uncertain, his fate hanging in the balance. But even in capture, Che's spirit remained unbroken. He was a revolutionary to the end, his ideals undiminished by his circumstances. Chapter 9. The Final Hours. Following his capture, Che was taken to a dilapidated schoolhouse in the village of La Higuera, where he was held prisoner. The room was bare, the conditions harsh, a stark contrast to the image of the charismatic leader who had once inspired a nation. Despite his dire situation, Che's spirit remained unbroken. He faced his captors with a calm defiance, his revolutionary spirit burning as bright as ever. Even in captivity, he engaged in heated debates with his captors and expressed his beliefs with unshakable conviction. His captors, many of them young soldiers, were taken aback by his charisma and resilience. Here was a man, weak from illness and injuries, held captive in a remote village, yet his spirit remained untamed. His captors expected a defeated rebel, but they found a man who, even in his final days, remained true to his revolutionary ideals. News of Che's capture spread, causing shockwaves across the world. His supporters held their breath, hoping against hope for his release. His adversaries, on the other hand, were ready to see the end of the man who had challenged their power. In the bare room of the schoolhouse, time was running out for Che Guevara. But he faced the ticking clock with the same resilience that had defined his life. He was a prisoner, yet in many ways, he remained free, a man unbroken by his circumstances, his spirit resonating with the fire of revolution. On October 9, 1967, the day after his capture, the orders came from the Bolivian government. Che Guevara was to be executed. Despite international appeals for a fair trial, the decision was final. His revolutionary journey was coming to an abrupt end. In the early afternoon, a young Bolivian soldier was reluctantly tasked with the execution. The setting was the same bare schoolhouse room where Che had spent his last night. The atmosphere was heavy with tension, the finality of the situation hanging in the air. As the soldier entered the room, Che looked up. Despite the circumstances, he showed no fear. His last words, spoken with calm defiance, echoed his unbroken spirit. "I know you've come to kill me. Shoot, coward, you are only going to kill a man." And then the shots rang out. The man who had inspired a revolution, who had fought for justice and equality, who had become a symbol of rebellion around the world, was no more. The execution marked the end of Che Guevara's revolutionary journey, but it was far from the end of his influence. The news of Che's execution sent shockwaves across the world. Reactions ranged from relief among his adversaries to mourning among his supporters. The man was gone, but the icon remained, his spirit living on in the hearts of those he had inspired. His journey had ended, but his revolution was far from over. The final hour had been sobering, but it marked not just an end, but also the beginning of Che Guevara's enduring legacy. In the aftermath of Che Guevara's execution, the world reacted with a mix of shock, relief, and sorrow. His death marked the end of a tumultuous journey, but it also marked the beginning of his legacy as a martyr. For his adversaries, his death was seen as the end of a threat, the silencing of a revolutionary voice that had challenged their power. But for his supporters, Che's execution transformed him into a martyr. He became a symbol of resistance, his life story a testament to the fight against injustice and oppression. His image, the iconic photograph taken by Alberto Corta, was reproduced on posters, T-shirts, and murals around the world. His writings and speeches were read and shared by millions. His ideals lived on in the hearts and minds of those he had inspired. In death, Che had become larger than life. Even in Cuba, the country he had helped liberate, his death was met with deep sorrow. Fidel Castro, in a public address, declared Che as a hero of the Republic of Cuba and an immortal commander. The Cuban nation mourned the loss of a leader, but also celebrated the life of a hero. Che's death did not mark the end of his influence, it magnified it. He had become a martyr, his image and ideals immortalized. His revolutionary journey had come to an end, but his impact was far from over. His spirit lived on, inspiring countless people around the world to question, to challenge, and to strive for a better world. In death, as in life, Che Guevara remained a beacon of revolution. Chapter 10. The Aftermath. The news of Che Guevara's death reverberated around the globe, causing a stir in international circles. The response was as varied as the man himself, a mix of relief, mourning, shock, and celebration. In the United States and other Western countries, governments expressed relief. For them, Che was a destabilizing figure, a symbol of rebellion that threatened their interests and influence. His death was seen as a victory, a triumph over a dangerous revolutionary force. However, public reactions in these countries were not as uniform. Many saw Che as a freedom fighter, a champion of the oppressed. His death was met with sorrow and anger. Protests erupted in several cities, with people condemning his execution and hailing him as a martyr. In Cuba, the reaction was profound. Fidel Castro announced Che's death to the nation, praising his courage, his commitment to the revolution, and his unwavering ideals. The Cuban people mourned the loss of a national hero, their grief tinged with admiration and respect. Across Latin America, Africa, and other parts of the world, where people were struggling against inequality and imperialism, Che's death was met with deep sorrow. He had been a beacon of hope, an inspiration for their struggles. His execution resonated deeply, fueling anger against the forces he had fought. The world reaction to Che Guevara's death revealed the depth of his impact. He had touched people not only through his actions, but also through his ideals. His death had silenced his voice, but it had amplified his message. The world had lost a revolutionary, but it had gained a martyr. While Che Guevara's life was cut short, his influence endured long after his death, leaving an indelible mark on both politics and popular culture. In the political sphere, his revolutionary ideals continue to inspire liberation movements across the globe. His writings, full of fiery passion and unwavering belief in the power of the people, became guiding texts for revolutionaries. His life story, marked by sacrifice and an unwavering commitment to his ideals, became a source of inspiration for those struggling against injustice and oppression. In popular culture, Che became an iconic symbol. His image, captured in the famous photograph by Alberto Corta, was reproduced on an array of items, from T-shirts to murals, making him one of the most recognizable figures of the 20th century. While the commercialization of his image was often at odds with his anti-capitalist ideals, it also served to spread his message to a broader audience. Che's influence was also felt in art and literature. He became a popular subject in films, books, and songs, his life and ideals explored and celebrated in various forms. Artists were drawn to his charismatic persona and his revolutionary spirit, seeing in him a symbol of resistance and a champion of the underdog. Decades after his death, Che Guevara remains a significant figure. His legacy, marked by his unwavering commitment to his revolutionary ideals and his willingness to sacrifice for them, continues to resonate. While the man has passed, his spirit endures, captured in his words, his deeds, and his enduring influence on the world. Che Guevara's life may have ended, but his legacy lives on. Che Guevara's life and legacy, like the man himself, are fraught with complexities and contradictions. He was a revolutionary who fought for the oppressed yet was involved in establishing a regime that many criticize for its lack of political freedoms. He was a doctor who cared for the sick, yet did not hesitate to take up arms and participate in warfare. He was a champion of the poor, yet his economic policies in Cuba have been both praised and criticized. Che's image as a romantic revolutionary is often contrasted with his role in establishing the one-party rule in Cuba and his approval of the use of state power to suppress dissent. Critics argue that his methods were authoritarian, and that his unwavering belief in the righteousness of his cause sometimes led to a disregard for individual rights. Supporters, on the other hand, view Che as a selfless hero who dedicated his life to the fight against imperialism and injustice. They point to his commitment to the poor, his efforts to promote literacy and healthcare in Cuba, and his willingness to sacrifice his own life for his ideals. The interpretation of Che's life and legacy often depends on one's political perspective. Yet, regardless of these debates, few can deny the impact that Che had on the world. His life was a testament to the power of conviction, to the potential for an individual to influence the course of history. As we reflect on the life and legacy of Che Guevara, we are reminded of the complexities of historical figures. His story encourages us to question, to delve deeper into the narratives that surround influential individuals, and to grapple with the often complex and contradictory nature of their lives and legacies. Che Guevara, in his life and his death, remains a symbol of revolution, a figure of fascination, and a subject of ongoing debate. Chapter 11. Guevara in popular culture. Few images have become as iconic and globally recognized as the photograph of Che Guevara, taken by Alberto Corda. Captured in March 1960 at a memorial service in Havana, the image shows a 31-year-old Guevara looking out into the distance, his face a mix of determination and introspection. This image, known as Guerrillero Heroico, or Heroic Guerrilla, was not immediately celebrated. Corda, a fashion photographer turned revolutionary photographer, had taken the photograph while working for the Cuban newspaper Revolucion. The photo did not appear in the coverage of the event, and it wasn't until years later that its prominence began to grow. The photograph gained global attention in the late 1960s, following Guevara's death. Italian publisher Gian Giacomo Feltrinelli, who had obtained the rights to Che's Bolivian diary, received a copy of the photograph from Corda. He used it to create posters to promote the diary, catapulting the image onto the global stage. The power of Corda's photograph lies in its simplicity and intensity. It captured Che's unwavering resolve and his idealism. The beret with a star, the focused gaze, the defiant expression. All these elements combined to create a powerful image that resonated with people around the world. It symbolized not just Che the man, but Che the idea, a symbol of rebellion, of resistance, of the fight for justice and equality. Over the decades, Corda's photograph has been reproduced in countless ways and on countless items, from posters and T-shirts to murals and keychains. Despite its commercialization, the image remains a powerful symbol of revolution, embodying the spirit of Che Guevara and resonating with people who aspire to change the world. Che Guevara's enduring influence extends far beyond politics. His life and legacy have found their way into the realms of movies and music, offering further evidence of his global impact. In cinema, Che's life has been depicted in various films. One of the most notable is The Motorcycle Diaries, 2004, which portrays his transformative journey across South America as a young man. This film provides insight into the experiences that shaped his revolutionary consciousness and his commitment to social justice. Another significant portrayal is Steven Soderbergh's two-part epic Che, 2008, starring Benicio del Toro. The film offers a detailed look at Che's role in the Cuban Revolution and his ill-fated guerrilla campaign in Bolivia. It brings to life the man behind the myth, portraying both his unwavering commitment to his ideals and the harsh realities of revolutionary struggle. In music, Che has been referenced and celebrated in numerous songs across various genres. He is seen as a symbol of rebellion, resistance, and the fight for justice. Musicians from Rage Against the Machine to Manu Chao have used his image or referred to him in their lyrics, highlighting his ongoing relevance and resonance. These depictions of Che Guevara in movies and music underline his enduring influence. They demonstrate how his life and ideals continue to inspire artists and audiences alike, serving as a testament to his impact and the enduring power of his legacy. Despite the passage of time, Che Guevara remains a significant figure in popular culture, his image and story continuing to captivate and inspire. From the time of his death to the present day, Che Guevara's image has been adopted by various movements worldwide as a symbol of rebellion, resistance, and change. His iconic portrait, with its steely gaze and determined expression, has appeared on the banners of activists and protesters across the globe. From student movements in Europe to anti-apartheid struggles in South Africa, from civil rights movements in the United States to pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong, Guevara's image has transcended borders and contexts, uniting diverse struggles for justice and equality. But the appropriation of Che's image is not without its controversies. Critics argue that the use of his image often strips away the complexities of his life and beliefs, reducing him to a simplified symbol. They point out that his image has been commodified, appearing on a range of merchandise, often at odds with his anti-capitalist ideals. Despite these debates, the widespread use of Che's image underscores his enduring influence. His life and legacy continue to inspire people around the world, resonating with those who challenge the status quo and fight for a better future. Che Guevara's image, once a portrait of a revolutionary leader, has evolved into a symbol of rebellion. It encapsulates a spirit of resistance, a call for justice, and a demand for change. It serves as a reminder of his unwavering commitment to his ideals and his courage in the face of adversity. In his image, many see a reflection of their own struggles, their own desires for change. In this sense, Che Guevara continues to live on, not just as a historical figure, but as an enduring symbol of rebellion. Chapter 12. Debates and Controversies. Few figures in modern history inspire as much controversy as Che Guevara. Depending on one's perspective, he is hailed as a hero of the people or condemned as a ruthless ideologue. This duality stems from the various facets of his actions and ideologies. On one hand, Guevara is revered as a hero who fought against oppression and imperialism. His supporters point to his efforts in promoting healthcare and literacy in Cuba and his dedication to sparking revolutionary movements across the globe. They admire his idealism, his commitment to social justice, and his readiness to sacrifice his own life for his beliefs. On the other hand, critics view Guevara as a villain, accusing him of authoritarian methods and disregard for human rights. They point to his role in establishing Cuba's one-party system and his involvement in executions during the early years of the Cuban Revolution. They argue that his economic policies were impractical and led to hardship, and that his pursuit of global revolution caused unnecessary conflict and violence. These contrasting views reveal the complexities of Che Guevara's legacy. While his commitment to social justice and equality is widely admired, the methods he used to pursue these ideals are subject to debate. Understanding Guevara requires a balanced look at both his virtues and his flaws, his achievements and his mistakes. He was a man of deep conviction, willing to risk everything for his beliefs. Yet, he was also a man whose actions sometimes contradicted the very ideals he sought to uphold. Che Guevara remains a controversial figure, a symbol of both rebellion and repression, idealism and dogmatism. His life continues to inspire debate, forcing us to grapple with the complexities of revolution and the often blurry line between hero and villain. The life and legacy of Che Guevara inevitably lead to a broader, thought-provoking discussion on the moral complexities of revolution. The issues that arise touch on fundamental questions of ethics, politics, and human rights. Revolutions, by their nature, are disruptive and often violent. They aim to upend the existing order and establish new systems of governance and society. Che Guevara, like many revolutionaries, believed that such upheaval was necessary to correct deep-seated injustices and oppression. However, the ethical dilemma arises when one considers the means used to achieve these ends. Is violence justified in the pursuit of justice? Can individual liberties be curtailed in the name of collective equality? These questions, among others, are central to the debate around the ethics of revolution. Critics argue that Guevara's endorsement of violent rebellion and his involvement in punitive actions during the Cuban Revolution demonstrated disregard for individual rights. They contend that his ends justify the means approach led to abuses and excesses. Supporters, however, argue that these actions must be seen in the context of a brutal and exploitative system that Guevara and his compatriots were fighting against. They believe that radical measures were necessary to break the chains of oppression and create a more equitable society. The debate around the ethics of revolution is complex and nuanced. It requires an understanding of the historical context and the challenges faced by those seeking radical change. It calls for a careful balance between idealism and pragmatism, between the vision for a better world and the realities of achieving it. Che Guevara's life and actions provide a lens through which to explore these moral complexities. His story serves as a reminder that the struggle for justice and equality, while noble, is fraught with ethical dilemmas and tough choices. It invites us to reflect on the ethics of revolution and the price we are willing to pay for change. In understanding Che Guevara, one cannot ignore the paradox that defines his legacy. He is simultaneously seen as a symbol of liberation and an icon of totalitarianism. On one side of this paradox, Guevara is celebrated as a freedom fighter, a revolutionary who challenged the status quo and fought for the rights of the oppressed. His vision of a world free from exploitation and his commitment to achieving this vision, even at great personal cost, have made him a symbol of resistance and change. He is admired for his courage, his resilience, and his unwavering belief in the power of the people to shape their own destiny. On the other side, Guevara is associated with the establishment of a one-party state in Cuba and is implicated in actions that suppress dissent. Critics argue that his approach, despite its revolutionary rhetoric, resulted in a system that curtailed individual freedoms and stifled political diversity. For them, Guevara symbolizes an oppressive form of government, making his image an icon of totalitarianism. This paradox poses a challenge in interpreting Guevara's legacy. It highlights the complexity of his character and the consequences of his actions. It underscores the often messy reality of political change and the difficulty of reconciling revolutionary ideals with the practicalities of governance. The Guevara paradox invites us to delve deeper into the contradictions and complexities that define historical figures. It encourages us to question, to explore, and to grapple with the nuances of revolution and leadership. Ultimately, it enriches our understanding of Che Guevara, not just as a symbol, but as a man shaped by and shaping his times. Chapter 13. Epilogue. The Man Behind the Myth. Ernesto Che Guevara was not just a revolutionary figure, he was also a man of flesh and blood, with personal dreams, affections, and fears. Behind the image of the iconic revolutionary, there lies the story of a man who was complex and multidimensional. Guevara was known for his intellect and love for reading. From philosophy to poetry, he had a voracious appetite for knowledge that shaped his worldview. He was also a medical doctor, committed to alleviating suffering and improving human health. He was an ardent traveler. His journeys across Latin America, vividly captured in his motorcycle diaries, were transformative experiences that awakened his political consciousness and empathy for the plight of the poor and marginalized. Beyond his public persona, Guevara was a family man. He was a loving husband to his wife Elida, and a doting father to his 5 children. Despite his responsibilities as a revolutionary leader, he endeavored to spend time with his family and was deeply involved in their lives. Guevara had a strong personality. He was known for his frankness and his impatience with bureaucracy and inefficiency. His comrades remembered him for his discipline, his intense work ethic, and his relentless drive towards his goals. He had a sense of humor too. His wit and sarcasm lightened tense moments and brought smiles to those around him. And despite his serious demeanor, he was capable of warmth and camaraderie. Knowing the man behind the myth enhances our understanding of Che Guevara. His personal life and character provide insights into what drove him and how he approached his revolutionary mission. They add depth to his image as a revolutionary leader, reminding us that he was, above all, a human being navigating the challenges and complexities of life and leadership. As we reflect on the life and legacy of Che Guevara, one cannot help but marvel at the enduring appeal and influence of his legend. More than half a century after his death, Guevara continues to captivate minds and hearts around the world. At the core of Guevara's enduring appeal is his commitment to his ideals. He believed in a world free from exploitation and inequality, and he devoted his life to making this vision a reality. He was not just a thinker, but a doer, unafraid to take up arms and risk his life for his beliefs. His courage and dedication resonate with people who aspire to change the world. Guevara's legend is also fueled by his image as the romantic revolutionary. The image of Che in his beret, staring into the distance, has become a global symbol of rebellion and resistance. It speaks to the rebel in all of us, the part that yearns to challenge the status quo and strive for a better world. However, the legend of Che Guevara is not without its contradictions. He is a hero to some, a villain to others. His life and actions continue to inspire debates about the nature of revolution and the price of change. This complexity, rather than diminishing his legend, adds to its richness and its enduring relevance. Che Guevara, the man behind the myth, was a product of his times. He was shaped by the challenges and struggles of his era, and in turn he left his mark on history. His legend endures not just because of what he did, but also because of what he represents, the enduring human aspiration for justice, equality, and freedom. His story continues to inspire, to challenge, and to remind us of the power of ideals and the potential for change. In reflecting on the life, beliefs, and legacy of Ernesto Che Guevara, we encounter a man who embodies the tumultuous spirit of the 20th century. He was a figure born of a time marked by struggle and change, by the battle for equality and the fight against oppression. Che Guevara was a man of deep conviction. He held steadfast to his belief in a world where justice and equality reigned, a world free from the chains of imperialism and exploitation. His life was a testament to his commitment to this vision, and he did not hesitate to sacrifice his comfort, his career, and ultimately, his life for his ideals. However, Che's life was not without its controversies and contradictions. His unwavering belief in his cause, while admirable, sometimes led him to measures that are heavily criticized. His methods in pursuit of revolution, including the use of violence and suppression of dissent, continue to fuel debates about the ethics of his actions. Yet, despite these complexities, or perhaps because of them, Che Guevara remains an enduring figure. His life continues to inspire and provoke, to stir admiration and controversy. His image has transcended his person, becoming a symbol of resistance and rebellion, an icon of revolutionary spirit. In the end, the story of Che Guevara challenges us to reflect upon our own beliefs and actions. It invites us to question the world around us, to stand against injustice, and to strive for a better future. Whether one views him as a hero or a villain, Che Guevara's legacy endures, a testament to the power of conviction and the enduring human struggle for justice and equality.